Hi, everyone. Welcome to the amazing Esports Partnership panel. My name is Tatiana Tacca. We're joined with an amazing, absolutely fabulous group of rock stars in the esports and gaming industry. I will let them introduce themselves, starting with Shay. Why don't you start us off?
Thanks, Tatiana. It's raining in Dallas, so apologies if you guys hear thunder behind me. I'm Shay Butler. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Envy Gaming and Optic Gaming. We also own the Dallas Fuel in the Overwatch League and Optic Texas in the Call of Duty League.
Amazing. Next, Nicole.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm Nicole DuCane Spencer. I'm the VP of Sales and Partnerships at Wisdom Gaming, and we're excited to be opening our venue at the Mall of America later this summer. So coming soon.
Amazing, exciting stuff. And then Season. Did I
Hi,
say that correctly?
my name gets butchered like both the first and last name. Like, don't even try. It's just Seeson. It's fine. My name is Seeson Mahathavorn. I am a senior global esports marketing manager at Razer. I've been at the company for about 5 years now, handling partnerships and sponsorships. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Yes, and I'm Tatiana Tacca. I'll be moderating the panel today. I'm a esports and gaming consultant for my own consulting called Oni Vision. So I work with brands, gaming properties on strategic partnerships, sponsorships, and marketing initiatives. Great. So we'll just start and kick off with our first question. Um, it's a really exciting time in gaming. A lot of and this is a gaming space that is changing so significantly. So we're seeing a lot of new things, really converge in esports, technology, gaming, streaming. So what does that convergence mean for esports consumers and then the brands who want to activate around them?
I guess I can go first.
Go for it.
10 years ago, we didn't have some of these non-endemic partnerships that are here, like Jack in the Box, like you see behind Shay. Maybe there's that little red box there, but I only know it because I talk to him every day. So nowadays, like you have Gucci, you have Nissan, you have all these non-endemic brands getting into space, trying to tap into the gaming lifestyle. So it's always evolving. So as a brand, we're trying to see what we can do to help take advantage of this, like working with teams such as Optic Gaming and with their content creators. Because I think in years past, like esports orgs were just focused on winning. But to survive and get that content out there, content is king. We want to, take advantage and utilize those partnerships and get our name out there.
Yeah, I think to touch on that too, I think within the last 10 years and with the kind of like you were talking about the convergence of technology and a lot of the advancements and creators having a much bigger stake in this too, beyond just the pro teams and the developers, I think it's allowed for much more opportunity for how fans choose to engage with brands. So there's a lot more creativity that can happen between how that brand wants to engage with the audience and with the fan. And it's much more it's not just a logo slap anymore, right? It's how is this a more integrated, holistic experience for the fan that's really memorable and they feel is valuable to them. And so I think that's what's exciting. And I think we're just going to continue to see that advance as technology plays a bigger role in their second screen experiences and there's activations in person along with the broadcast. And how do those all come together to form one, incredible, memorable experience for the fans that are there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I'm one of those guys that comes from traditional sports. So I spent 8 years with the Dallas Stars, selling hockey, and I've been a gamer my whole life. And one of the reasons that I jumped into esports is because I feel like it's this beautiful blend between the passionate fan base that traditional sports has, mixed with I think the future of marketing, which is digital in nature. And I think that digital events, is what I call them, are going to continue to just skyrocket in this space. Like for the Stars, they have 18,000 people in arena, and it's awesome. And they have linear television where you can watch the Stars, but there's no interaction there, right? Like Twitch, like we have right now, we have chat that we can communicate in real time. I think that technology is going to continue to evolve to where you can have a digital arena of hundreds of thousands of people. And Fortnite, I think, is doing a great job of this. So I think you're going to continue to see like lots of digital events happen that don't have those physical constraints that traditional sports have. I don't know if that helps.
Absolutely. No, definitely. I mean, we've seen a lot of a big rise, not just in, being able to sponsor more digital tournaments, but brands being able to kind of create their own tournaments, the rise of live streaming and content creators. A lot of these things make it a lot easier for brands to get involved. You don't necessarily need a seven-figure budget and a massive like 3-year strategy to test and learn, really try something, and and really kind of see what works for your brand as you kind of begin to strategize and engage in the scene more. And I think that's kind of a really kind of a great feature of the space. Esports is, I always say that esports is the space for flexibility and allows for some kind of new thinking in partnerships. So, and as we've touched upon a bit, it's one that, because of its continuous evolution, the opportunity for brands and how they can engage just changes along with it. So, are there some new opportunities that you've seen, this year, the coming years that feel very different from, what we've been seeing prior?
You guys want to go first?
Seeson, why don't you go first again? What's the coolest thing that you've sponsored?
Anyone can jump in.
What did I sponsor recently? Optic Gaming and Envy Gaming. This is a partnership that I've always tried to have. Even when I first started in esports, they've always been an organization that I've definitely looked up to in terms of like what they do, other than outside of gaming. But they also build that content strategy as well, because after gaming, what do you have after this? They if they're not streaming, if they're not building their brand, what are they going to do after this? Some might go back to school, they might do something else, but I think Optic does a really good job with their content creators and players. As you can see, like some of like the biggest names are former pro players who have also built their brand. And I think it's a great opportunity for us, because it's I just love this partnership. It's been an amazing partnership since March, and we've been killing it so far. Shay and team over there have done an amazing job for Razer. They've taken everything that we've wanted, and vice versa, because it's a two-way street. But I think we both benefited, so far, and we have a lot of things planned that are coming up that we can't wait to show you. We just can't talk about it yet.
That's awesome. But I
Somebody
mean,
clip
also
that.
to
I need to,
yeah,
I need to
right.
send that out.
No. Kidding.
But to that point too, Envy has invested a lot in content creators as well alongside esports strategy because of the growth of live streaming and the scale that exists there and the kind of natural personalities and conversations that esports orgs can tap into through not just pro activations and pro players but through content creators as well. So, Shay, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've appreciated very much. Again, I've been in esports for a while now, 4.5 years. But where I come from in traditional sports, it's working with the players is something that brands have to tackle as a totally separate thing. Where within esports still, like we have the ability to work directly with our players in a really easy and grassroots way. And so like one of the things we just did with Seeson in the Razer team was we took a bunch of our creators down to Austin and we did a pop-up shop, but throughout the entire thing, it was in Hector's vlog. We were posting about it in real time on social. We did a post-event recap video that hit the airwaves. So I think esports teams need to be focused on more than just the esports side of things and need to be focused on content creation, and I think a few teams are definitely doing that well, and I'm confident enough to say that Optic is definitely one of those teams.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing from a lot of the brands that we've been talking to at Wisdom Gaming is like brands get the traditional esports model, and how that is similar to traditional sports, as Shay was talking about. But there's a desire for the bigger gaming culture and gaming adjacent culture, whether that's that intersection between music and fandom and sneakers and all of that has more of the casual fans that are still just as active and want to be served. And so I think we're seeing a lot of brands shift, and that kind of ties into that creator influencer economy too, and how you can leverage that, and how more and more esports orgs are really, like Envy, like Optic, for example. They're an incredible example of that, like leaning into um, the creators that they have in addition to their pro teams. And what we've really seen has been successful too as part of that is really leveraging co-streaming, right? And so you're able to then activate on the influencers channels in addition to the main broadcast, and then you're getting even better reach for the brands that you're working with, right? Then you can be right in there with their audience and talking to that audience directly. So it's a bigger lift for the brand, and more authentic, as we all kind of roll our eyes at that word, but like it's another way to authentically speak to those audiences. And I think that's what we're going to start to see more opportunities like that. And even with our big partnership with Riot Games and the events and the tournaments that we produce for them, co-streaming is a big part of that, right? Leveraging that network to boost the viewership.
Yeah, co-streaming has been such a key strategy the last, especially the last like year and a half or so. We've really seen like massive, massive scale. Sometimes influencers viewership is actually higher than the esports league in some cases, and that's just a great testament to kind of the scale and popularity they offer. And now we're seeing co-streaming really go beyond just even esports content. The Arcane Premiere was a phenomenal example of that. I just partnered with Crunchyroll recently on a
Yes.
premiere for an
Nice.
anime series
That was so awesome.
series.
Loved it.
Yeah. So we're definitely seeing, and just kind of react streams as well. The Johnny Depp trial had a huge moment on Twitch today, as well as the last 6 weeks. So that diversification of content really shows that gaming does intersect cross culture in really kind of quite powerful ways. And when we look at the larger gaming scene versus the various kind of communities that make it up, and different titles, different esports, different content creators and things, there's not necessarily always a huge overlap. So it can be really powerful for an org like Envy, for instance, to have a strategy towards chess and VTubers, in addition to Call of Duty and a ton of other important titles. So, in terms of trends that we're seeing, what kind of partnership trends can we expect to see in the future of esports and gaming that may be a little bit more, let's say, surprising or a little bit more unexpected?
I mean, I think overall we're going to start to see even like more and more non-endemic brands getting into the space, right? More brands that you would never thought would get into esports coming in and doing something really creative and different, and that's part of their story, it's part of how they win. And so I think we're going to continue to see that partnership, um, which I think is great, right? That helps boost everything for everybody in the playing field.
Trends.
Absolutely.
Can it be any trend?
Yeah, of
I
course.
so I am super bullish on play to earn games. I think I have spent so Destiny was like one of my first MMO experiences, and I sunk so many hours into that game. But I have nothing to show for all of the weapons and skins and things that I unlocked. And I think play to earn games are going to continue to just take off and in a real way. I think the first person that can create a really awesome RPG or MMO with a play to earn features is going to just rule the gaming world for a while.
Yeah, no, I agree. I one trend that I do kind of like is free to play because no cost involved. Unlike a game that I'm currently playing, it is free to play, but it's also pay to win, and my wallet is not very happy with me as of a couple days ago. So free to play is definitely something that's very interesting to me because you know it's cost efficient. It's not a time suck for me. It's something that I can kind of rent And then, if I want to, get more involved or get more invested, I can, open up that wallet. But I think that's something I like the most for me.
I I think the other trend that we're gonna keep seeing, I mean, it's already happening, but I think
Yeah.
it's gonna continue to happen is, more branding happening in the games themselves. Obviously, Fortnite has done an incredible job with that. Even Riot has started to flirt more with that. Psyonix has flirted more with that, and so I think we're going to see more and more of ways where brands are going to be able to get exposure in the game in a way that is palatable to the fans and to the gamers. And I think, yeah, it's only the beginning of where that's going to grow to.
Yeah, one good example is that Shay brought us an opportunity to get the Razer logo on the Optic Texas skin in the game. So appreciate that.
Yeah, it's by far my favorite integration so far, and I hope that developers and publishers continue to push that. And
I hope
Rocket
so
League
too.
is doing the same thing, right now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's why we're seeing such an interest towards these metaverse non-blockchain game titles like Roblox and Fortnite Creative, as well as Minecraft, right? Like looking at areas where brands can kind of create and own worlds and experiences, because this is something that that brands have been asking for years, much like in the very early days of esports, in the very early days of non-endemic gaming activation. But there has only been so much opportunity for that. Early days of that literally were things like NBA 2K banners and so there's just a much more kind of thoughtful and integrated and quite like pretty experiential type of opportunity now. It's great as well that esports publishers are partnering with teams and allowing for the brands to have roles in there as well. I think the more that we can kind of find those opportunities and push those flexibilities, the more uh, kind of digital customizations we can find. It's definitely where we're really seeing a big focus right now for a lot of brands. And interestingly enough, something like this feels like a really big play, but many brands, for many brands, this is their first activation in gaming, is like a custom Roblox game, which is very interesting.
Yeah, well, and going back to that, to what Rocket League did with the competitive teams, and obviously, Envy they have their team, Torrent, our competitive team is in it, and we have Mall of America's logo on that. Like that is the developer also supporting the esports teams and the organizations, right? So the more that they are then supporting the teams to support their sponsors and partnerships, again, it keeps helping the ecosystem versus just the developers just keeping that for themselves. But I think it's really exciting to see them share that and open that up beyond just what's available to them, but actually like passing that on to the esports orgs is incredible. And I don't think we've really seen that done in the same way that like Psyonix has been, tiptoeing and starting to do that.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Another question I definitely wanted to ask was, we touched a little bit upon content creators um, and the huge growth towards activating around that. In particular, Stream Hatchet said that there was a 71% increase in sponsored live streams in 2021. And you can kind of really understand why, right? Like content creators are a kind of a flexible entry point. There's a whole range of scale and budget and opportunity within that. You can do short term, you can do long term, and it can be very custom. Many brands do often make the mistake or the decision to kind of go a little bit more media heavy when they do these sponsored streams, but there is a lot of room for customization and doing things that are kind of quite out of the box. So my question here is how can brands consider leveraging content creators alongside their esports focused strategies?
Oh man, I guess I'm the only brand here. What we can do, from our perspective, is like work with our content creators that we sponsor, like separately from the esports orgs, and try to see if they can work together somehow. it's all about, like one family versus like, oh, you're separate from this team and you're separate from this content creator. What I envision is like, I want to see, something cohesive where we can all do something together, and, you know, so you can tap into that content creator's audience while that content creator can tap into that esports org audience. So I think that's something that, a lot of that we need to work on, but I definitely want to do that more moving forward for sure.
Makes sense. And then we talked a little bit about content strategies as well, right? So, um, uh, there's, content is king, and esports orgs really taking a very strong kind of strategy towards various forms of content. And I think, we talked a little bit upon live streaming, VOD, big stunts in VOD and VOD series, obviously have a huge place in the space. And then short form is continually rising, and TikTok is becoming, in particular, like such a key platform for gaming strategies and content creators, as well as Instagram. So, across these kind of three areas, which would you say is absolutely crucial for brand success?
Oh man, I think they all play a part, but I think as of most recent, TikTok would probably be what I would focus on. Not gonna lie, my wife makes me do some TikToks with her. It's a lot of fun. It does get tiring, but I think for content creators and esports players, they can, I believe they could take like clips, like their hottest clips or like their 1v3s and put it online. And once they can also brand that, showcase their other handles like their Twitch page or whatever live streaming program that they're using, and then they can find them on there as well. It's just, you gotta like get them at all different angles, and somehow you'll get them at one point. So I think that TikTok would be my focus right now.
I mean, TikTok has that discoverability, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And so I know what I've seen a lot of people do on Twitch, a lot of brands, but a lot of creators in particular, is leveraging their TikToks to get people to their Twitch, to then build their Twitch, to get discovered there, and then you're funneling people to Twitch. We've done that successfully with our esports org Torrent, and then we also run the Minnesota High School Varsity League, MNVL, which has been incredibly successful. TikTok's done really well there in that high school audience, and we have the Minnesota Twins on as a partner there, and so it's been fun to experiment with what we can do like there. But we've seen like that's one of the ways to really crack that code, at least right now. Of course it will change. I think Twitch is still incredible, and I guess YouTube streaming too, but for the stickiness, right, that engaged audience where you have that longer form, the community building. But for discoverability right now, I think TikTok is just crushing.
Yeah, I had to delete TikTok because I was spending way too much time on it. It's the first social media app
Same.
that I ever had the courage to remove from my phone, because it was
I
just those iPhone usage reports at the end of the week were just killing me.
It's when that video comes of saying, "Hey, you've been on for a while. You might want
Yeah,
to go
right?
take a break."
But kudos to TikTok for putting that in there.
Yeah.
I love that they do that. So my favorite activations are the things that do all three. They have an element of live streaming, and then they have short form content that can promote and happen during the live streaming event, and then they have the long form VOD content that happens after the live stream. We just did that with GameStop, and we advertised Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And so we launched a new show called Optic Hangout, which is where we get a bunch of the people from Optic, from the Call of Duty team and the Halo team and the OG Optic guys, and they all just played Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for 3 hours. But we had awesome social that like got the fans, or got the green wall excited leading into it. We had social happening that day. And then again, obviously we posted the VOD afterwards. So I think it's really cool when you can make everything kind of come together at once.
No, I absolutely agree with that, and oftentimes that is a big focus of my strategies when I work with brands as well, because Twitch is kind of almost like, or live streaming in general. So whether it's live streaming on Twitch or YouTube, wherever it is, that's really kind of your event, your experiential space. You can drive a lot of kind of back and forth conversation, but there's so much content happening in real time that it can easily get lost. And using social platforms, let's say Twitter or Instagram, to announce and promote the fact that this thing is happening, and then to use short form, let's say, as a way to recap and highlight the best moments and really kind of help to uh, drive awareness, continue that conversation, etc. Has definitely been a really good strategy. So I totally agree. Kind of um, having a holistic strategy approach on across content can be a really a healthy way to think about that activation. And then I am also we have more time and everything, so I'm going to open it up as well to uh, questions from the audience. So if you have those watching, listening, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the chat, and we may get to it. So one question we have is about smaller organizations. So as a smaller organization looking to grow and improve, what should we focus on marketing to partners and sponsors? Anyone want to kind of jump in there?
Jay, you want to go?
You want me to go?
Yeah. You're basically like from that part anyway, so but just much bigger scale.
So basic. I understand the question to be the smaller orgs. What advice would we give them to go after new partnerships?
To market
sums it
to
up.
to potential partners, to potential sponsors. What advice would you give them?
I would say do whatever it takes to get that first deal done. That is always the hardest part, is getting the first deal done so that you can prove yourself to them, and grow with that brand over time and over deliver. Don't be afraid to do whatever it takes to, especially as the smaller orgs, like convince Seeson that you're awesome, and it may take a free partnership at first to get him to believe in what you're doing as a small and startup org, and then over deliver for Seeson, and then see what happens. Chances are he's gonna appreciate the partnership, and he's gonna want to grow and continue to nurture that thing. I don't know if my email will get shared after this, but I'm always happy to lend advice on sales materials. I think it's super important to remember that what you sell as an organization is the audience number, the audience size that you have, and then the influence over that audience that you have. So just remember that, and always be partner minded first, and make sure that all of your decks and sales materials are focused on the brand and not as much on your organization.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
let
think
me. Oh, go ahead. Good.
no, just to piggyback on what Shay said, I think it's also being strategic about the brands that you're approaching, especially if you're small. Like if there is a brand that you are super gung ho about or really aligns with your org and like kind of the vibe of it, like go after those ones that already seem kind of aligned with what you're doing. So you're not just, kind of doing a big shotgun blast to everybody, but be like strategic on who you're going after. Of course you can go beyond that, but I think that's a really good starting place too. Like what brands are you passionate about? Like what creative ideas do you already have? Like what pitches can you get in front of them? Like Shay said, to win them over, if they see that passion and what you're going to do for them, it's going to take you farther.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with both of you. Basically, like going back to Shay's point, he was pretty much prepared with the deck already, taking everything into perspective, like what Razer does, and put that on his pitch deck and showed us what we can do, how we can leverage this. Basically, going above and beyond, like a normal like first pitch or first call. I was like, usually the first calls are like, "Hey, my name is this. This is what we do. When can we set up another time to talk?" Just come prepared. Always be prepared. Know how to spell Razer or whatever brand you're pitching to, and make sure you remove the other competitor sponsor at the same time. Because I do get a lot of those. Like sometimes those are just left in there. It's like, oh man. A little embarrassing, but it's a learning experience. So we all make mistakes. So we're all human. So it's make sure you know who you're pitching to, and going back to what Nicole said, like line up with brands that make sense to you. Like if you're not using a Razer product, why go after Razer? If you love like whatever competitor or whatever headset or whatever chair, go after that brand. See what they want to do. It might not be like the money might not all be there, but building that relationship is key. It's the first step. It's all about networking, really. Like I wouldn't like Shay. We talked to a couple of years ago, and we finally got a deal after that. And I met Nicole last year. I've known Tatiana for years now. I think our last time we saw each other was like a Counter-Strike event, right? It was in
It's
Europe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
just know who you want to go after. Know what they do, make a plan around that, and see what happens. Like it doesn't hurt to hit us up on Twitter either. I get a lot of spam emails, like a lot of cold emails that just get filtered through our internal network. But having that conversation and just talking to us, we're all human. Just make that relationship and see where it goes. Don't be afraid.
Amazing advice. One thing I'll definitely add to that is um, have opportunities at the table that feel unique to you and unique to the brands that you're creating and what you're able to offer. There are a lot of different types of value and benefits that different organizations can deliver that sometimes other teams aren't able to. A lot of brands are not just looking for a media and a logo integration opportunity, but they're looking for something that really is thoughtful and a part of and it's an activation, it's part of their strategy. They're focused on Valorant, and this is maybe a grassroots extension to it that they don't currently have, or maybe it's a female gaming play again that is related to their strategy, but maybe is a missing piece. So think about as well your biggest strengths, your biggest your biggest things that you can offer, and focusing on that, and focus less on here's esports and here are the big numbers, because more often than not the folks who are going to sponsor you, as some of those early ones, probably have a sense of the opportunity of the macro space as a whole.
Such good advice. Yes, amen.
Another question. What are your thoughts on cross-team partnered projects, content, events, etc.? It seems like there may be a lot of red tape branding wise. So, for instance, I'm getting this as a sense of, for instance, if you wanted to partner, if you're a team and you want to partner across, with another team, or with, maybe a publisher or someone outside of your organization. How might you kind of approach a strategic partnership?
Go ahead, Nicole.
No, you go, Shay, because you've been a
Well,
great
well,
example.
well. I was gonna throw it to Seeson because I think the shirt he's wearing is such a cool example of this coming to life. And then hoping that Optic can somehow be part of the Bape Razer collab in the future. This is like right now. This is going back to the trends question. Like this is one of my favorite styles of marketing right now. Is when you try to mash up things that don't automatically fit together. I think is super cool marketing. And I'm trying to remember the Super Bowl campaign a few years ago that like really I think helped kick this off. And I think it was Tide and Bud Light, and like certain days being laundry days. Do you guys remember that campaign? I thought that was brilliant, and the fact that it's 3 years old and I still remember it proves that I think it works. We've also done a lot of collabs with like FaZe Clan, and so I think things like that are super cool and interesting. And I think we're just going to continue to see that happen more and more. But Seeson, maybe you can speak to the Bape collab because I think that's a really good example.
I wasn't involved with this collaboration, but I think it's definitely one of my favorites as a hype beast shoe collector and gamer. I think it looks amazing. Like when I first heard about it, I was like, holy shit! Like we're getting in with Bape. I have a lot of other ideas, with some other brands. It's just it's like are they available as budget, all that stuff. all that fun stuff with business. So not everything can happen, but that wish list is very, very long for me especially. But I mean, we have a lot of cool stuff. Like I think we just announced the Razer X Toomey collab this morning. You know, I didn't know we'd get into luggage, but we're here, and we're the hard carry, and we're trying to tap into that market as well. It's crazy. Like we had a toaster before, as an April Fool's joke, and everyone wants that as an appliance in their kitchen now. I shouldn't be talking about that anymore. But anyways, I think Razer actually does a lot of cool stuff in terms of going outside just the gaming space, and we do have a lot of things lined up, and I just wish I could share it with you right now. I'm very excited for the stuff that's to come this year.
Yeah, I'd also add, and Seeson, you're such a tease. Come on. I mean, just alluding to all this cool stuff that's going to happen. Can't share it. No, just giving you announcement of an announcement. I think there's also an opportunity for like, especially as more is happening locally or within cities, like how can you tap into the players who are already in your town, right? I feel like there's becoming more and more hubs throughout the country, at least in North America, and how can you team up with them and do cool events where you're pulling together that local community as well. you know Wisdom Gaming and our esports org Torrent, we're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So is the Rocker and Version 1. They're both part of supporting the high school league, and then looking at what other events and activations can we do together, because by working together we can pull all the fans and just produce some really cool content and experiences. So I think there's a big opportunity at looking at like how can you partner up with people who are in your backyard, because more often than not there's somebody there who's also doing something, and you can just pull your resources and have an even better, bigger experience. And I think in Texas has done a great job of this too, right? And with stuff that's going on down there and leveraging all the teams that already exist in Texas. So I think there's, yeah, a lot of cool stuff that could be done.
Absolutely. No, I think those are all some really great examples, and in particular, uh, the person who asked the question was a little bit concerned about red tape. But I think what's kind of awesome about the gaming space is red tape is certainly a thing, and depending on certain organizations, there might be more than others, but there's so much excitement and interest to collaborate and try new things. And all of the examples shared here have mutual interests. Whether that interest is really creating something super powerful and bringing gaming into luxury, like with Toomey, or activating in local markets. You know, there's a lot more kind of openness to explore those things than ever before, and I think esports is just learning to be way more creative. When we look at some of the esports kind of brand partnerships or collaborations, kind of from kind of organization to organization, there's so much mutual value that we're finding now that like just wasn't really being looked at, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Another question. So we were talking a little bit about over delivering for brands, right? Specifically, you know, your first, bringing in your first brand and really making sure that they over deliver. So what are some ways that that properties can ultimately over deliver for brands? That more additional assets or creative ideas. How have you leaned in on that?
Refer to Shay. He's already over delivering for me, so it's great.
No, I was gonna
Crushing
make
it.
you answer because I was gonna take notes so I could make sure I'm doing everything that Season wants to see. I mean, it could be super simple. Like when it comes time to get a deal done, and you have a contract in place, and you're supposed to do an appearance with 2 players, bring 4 players. When you're supposed to do 2 social posts, do 4 social posts. When you're supposed to do 5 videos, do 8 videos. I promise you, the people that sit in Season's chair see that and recognize that, and appreciate that. And when it comes time to reporting to the executive level, being able to say we were owed this amount, me, Seeson, I got them to give me 50% more. It's only going to help the people in the decision making chairs look great. And so at the end of the day, that is such a huge part of partnerships. Um, and to me, I've always approached things as I much prefer to keep a partner around than have to search for a new one each year. And so
Oh,
the
I don't want to
cost.
do any illegal contracts anymore.
Yeah, right.
That's
It's
fun.
yeah, but it's the cost of like doing an extra social post or doing an extra video is way cheaper than finding an entirely new partner to fill a category.
It also, I mean, just to talk from like, the person who's doing that, it protects you because what if one of those videos kind of bombs, right? So like doing more will essentially show the success. So if you can, it actually helps protect you as the organization to like maybe test and try another one because that one didn't do so great. So yeah, you're going to do a make good or you're just going to do extra because you want it to be a success and you want to show the numbers that you promised or over deliver the numbers like Shay was talking about. It never hurts to do more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wholeheartedly
And
agree.
it's also, yeah,
I can keep going. Just talk about Shay. Like I think
absolutely.
one of the best things that we've had, other than like the the monthly recaps and the quarterly recaps, is like having an online drive of approved assets from both sides. Like this we have this online folder that has assets from like every event, everything that we've done together that we can use whenever we want. We don't need final approval for the photo, maybe for the copy, but it's something that's always available, which is what our sales team, marketing teams have taken advantage of, and they have been super appreciative that Shay and team have provided assets for us to use at like the Razer store, Amazon, Best Buy, and all these other marketing and retailer activations that we're doing. Because sometimes it's like, hey, when can we get a photo of this person? Oh, they're not going to be in town for like a month. Well, can we take it with an iPhone? That's not going to look good. So their content team is always doing high quality like studio shots for us, for sponsored, categories, of course. But it's super beneficial for us as a brand because we can market them, faster. Because we're also doing something that's coming out next month that I think is pretty cool. Shay knows about it, of course, but I can't wait to show that one too.
Nice. Sounds exciting. You've been teasing so many cool things. I can't wait to see them all.
This partnership has really been like a blessing, like one of my favorite partnerships like in my whole esports career. It's like it's one of the dream orgs I've always wanted to work with, and they're just over delivering. A lot of esports organizations act, they have that tier one status, but they act like a like a Kickstarter. Like, it's just someone who's just starting out. It's like a small agency but they have all hands on deck who are fully invested in this partnership. And
Yeah.
I can't, can't say how appreciative I am of it.
Yeah. And, it can be frustrating as well when you have a partner that, is more of like a nickel and dimer, right? Like, okay, these are your assets and this is the price and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what kind of brand you are or how competitive the space is. Those types of things, definitely certainly exist in the space. And that kind of approach can definitely, from a brand side, it's like I'd rather work with folks who, can offer maybe less scale, but a lot more creativity and a lot more kind of partnership, a partnership based relationship.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Going back to over delivering, like this goes back to like, hey, we had this in mind. Do you want to be included with no price tag? That's awesome. How can we, what can we give you to help, activate this and support you? So that's what Shane Team does. Like, it's amazing. I can't say anything bad about it.
Well, it goes back to that you're
Amazing.
like making it easy for your partner, right? The easier you can make it, the better everybody wins. And if you're just looking at it like from Shay's perspective, so I'm talking for you, Shay, but if you if you're thinking like how can I make Razer and Season's life better, the longer and more successful that partnership and like spot on what Shay said, it is so much easier to renew an existing partner than to go out and find a new partner, right? Because there's no guarantees how long that will take or. So again, like the more you can make sure that you're over delivering on, even if you only have one partner, making sure that you are doing above and beyond to keep them around because that will, lead to more sustainable business.
Absolutely. Another really great question, by the way, because we talked a little bit about some, more unconventional partnerships and unique approaches. So, On the other side of the coin, can a brand partnership be too irrelevant for your fans to consider?
Yes, for sure. Um, uh, a perfect brand for us is someone that adds brand equity, brand value, and makes us even
Mhm.
cooler, like Razer. Then additionally, they have dollars to spend is always nice. And then last but certainly not least is a brand that employs people that you want to work with day in and day out. Usually, we try to require all three things to be checked for us to work with someone. Um, because it does nobody any good to do a partnership where the audience isn't going to appreciate that partnership. Um, that's my opinion.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Shay.
I think that's spot on. I mean, the audience can tell, right? If the brand doesn't get it, if
It
it's not a
seems
good fit.
forced, or if
Yeah, if
it's
it's forced, they get it. They smell the bullshit. Like,
yeah.
can't fake it.
That's going back to like those partnership decks. Like, go after teams that make sense. Like, you don't want to force a player to use something that they're not used to, and they're just gonna have a bad taste in their mouth when they hear your name. So you just want to make sure it's genuine, and they absolutely like genuinely love this product or service that this person or company is providing.
Well, and also I think
Yeah,
it's the brand also being active, right? Like the brand being involved and showing up in the chat and also communicating, right? Or like whatever the activation is that the brand is actively engaged, that sends a huge signal to the community, right? Like, oh, this brand gives a shit. Like, I'm going to support them because they care. They're here, or however they're interacting on socials, whatever that looks like. Just seeing that the brand is giving back and not just passive and not just like, okay, we spend our ad dollars or whatever the sponsorship money, and then they like kind of are ghosting. Um, I think that goes a long way. And so if you're looking for partners, looking for the ones who are also engaged and want to be part of the conversation, will just be more successful.
yeah, absolutely. On my end, I do work with a lot of occasionally very unconventional brands. Brands that at a first glance are does it make sense for them to activate in the gaming space. And one thing I have appreciated in working with so many different types of brands is on the other side of the coin, the gaming space is so fragmented and so diverse that in many cases there are opportunities for brands to engage in the space, even if at first blush it doesn't look like a natural fit. I worked with a pharma brand that specialized in multiple sclerosis based medication, and again, like, this is one that sounds really out of the box. Is there a really kind of natural, credible activation opportunity with gaming that would fit that? And the reality is there's a ton of health and wellness plays. Does it fit? Is it a fit for kind of every kind of property? Probably not, but there are ways to make it work. So um, I think it's really 100% true what you're saying. And then on the other side, I think in many cases brands can really look at the space more holistically to try to see, okay, well, what would work, and also tactically, to your point, right, engaging in the chat, adding value, tactically, strategically, like, what are they going to do to make sure that whatever their play is going to still resonate well with the community. Let's see if there are any additional questions. I know we're near time, so we'll probably have one last, we have time for one last question um, around more unique partnership deliverables. So, you can see like uh, media, you have your media logos, you have your social shout outs, you have your stream overlays. So this is in particular, it seems like this person's asking more kind of in the case of live streaming. What are some more kind of unique ways to engage in the stream outside of purely the more basic assets?
don't know.
I just figured, Seeson, you're going to say, "Oh, I can't say it's coming soon."
So
I was good.
I'll give one example.
All right.
Recently, Jack in the Box did a pretty interesting live stream. I don't know if you guys saw this, where they basically made this 3D version of Jack, and he just stood at a drive-through window, and it was all computer animated. But they kept the stream on like 24 hours a day for like a whole week, and Jack would just walk back and forth to the drive-through window and put up a QR code, and it gave people like free French fries every time they did it. So it was a super interesting activation that I hadn't seen done before. The VOD is probably still up if people want to check it out on the Jack in the Box Twitch channel.
That's awesome. And that is such a great example of, approaching a live stream in a way where it's not just a gamer playing a game and, okay, we're going to, have a Jack in the Box overlay, during this time. It's a much more kind of thoughtful, creative approach to the streams. And the reality is there's a lot of different ways to do that. We talked about co-streaming earlier and, different forms of content. There's, the just chatting feature is what, the second most highest category on Twitch now. There's just, a ton of ways to approach content that's still really engaging, that can be just way more accustomed to how a brand is approaching a sponsored stream. So fantastic example. Thank you, Shay. And I think that will be a great way to wrap up our panel. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This was a lot of fun, a lot of great insights and energy. And so always appreciate it. And back to Inven Global's conference.
Thanks for